Good morning, Mikey. How are you?
Good morning. I'm still reeling from the stupidity of, by my count, 6 fights in Cowboys versus Broncos. It wasn't supposed to be a scrimmage, but it also wasn't supposed to be a brawl. And I know afterwards Jerry said, "Oh, we got a lot done." You know, I didn't mind that at all. And Dak said we got a lot done. I talked to one coach who said we were right on the border of not getting a lot done. By the time you have 6 fights all on one side, Cowboys offense versus Broncos defense, you've wasted a lot of time. And it's fun and it's amusing up until the time somebody gets hurt. And it's a great headline, but it was really stupid for about an hour and 45 minutes.
Mike, do you think it makes sense to even have these practices against other teams?
I know that, you want to go hit somebody else and you want to go run a route against somebody else. But by the time you travel for this and spend the money and spend the time, I think it's a psychological helper, but I don't think it's a football helper. No, I do not.
Mike, a lot of the people were coming at us or talking that we noticed on social media, really upset the Cowboys didn't come to Zeke's defense when he got knocked down by Chubb. Was there anything talked about there?
Well, to that specific play, that was just the cheapest of cheap shots. And Zeke's going through his own footwork, knowing that he's not going to get hit. So he's planting and he's cutting, and as he's planting and cutting, here comes a guy blasting him in a non-tackling exercise, and Chubb tackles him as viciously as you possibly can with a shove. First of all, it happened behind the offensive lineman, so not everybody got to see it. Second of all, it was so stunning that I don't know that you had time to gather yourself and react to it. Unlike, remember the Washington play when Andy Dalton slid and got blasted in Washington? That was a collection of offensive linemen who had never been in any situation before. So that was unfortunate and stunning. In this case, I think some Cowboys guys are going, what is going on here? And then, Chop, my other response would be, that would have been fight number 7. Maybe 6 is enough.
So Randy Gregory, while not practicing, decided to get involved in some of these scuffles?
Yeah, he decided to not visit with the media at large, which is too bad. Nobody owes anybody anything, but I think that would have been a smart move by him to visit with the Dallas media.
Mike, I think that would have been bad. I think because I don't trust that he would have put out the fire.
He handled it badly.
Right.
It would have been bad because he would have done a bad job of it.
Right.
But he could see again. You know my policy on this. These football teams are a public trust, and the fan is the stockholder. And as you know, for a better part of half a decade, Cowboy fans had stock in Randy Gregory, and they invested in Randy Gregory. I think it'd be nice of him to say hi to them and say something besides "you're a toxic fan." But anyway, he decides. I mean, he was instigating half these fights. And he's pointing at at Cowboy offensive linemen who are getting beat, particularly Josh Ball, and he's yapping and he's flapping, and then he's right on the edge of all these brawls, and he's got it. You can see he's got a little tiny shoulder harness on now that he's gone through his rotator cuff surgery. He's still not practicing. He's really lucky that some Cowboy didn't decide, I think I'll do what Chubb did. You want to come here and yap and fight? I think I'll shove you in the shoulder.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, your $70 million defensive end isn't playing all year.
Yep, absolutely. Mike Fisher in Denver for practice yesterday and game 1 tomorrow night here on Shan and RJ 105.3 The Fan. Okay, so when they actually practiced against each other, what stood out on both sides?
This team can go ahead and kind of work through its work through its wide receiver issues. They can say, well, listen, we think we've got some answers. At one point with the first team, that was Noah Brown and Dennis Houston starting alongside CeeDee Lamb. Okay, maybe. We can wait on that. And I know how concerned you are, Sean, but the swing tackle situation, they can't revamp this entire offensive line. They're going to have to hope that guys play better than they practiced. But the Josh Ball thing isn't working as a swing tackle. That wasn't good at all. And you guys can pull up a list at your convenience. There's 5 veteran offensive tackles out there on the market.
I mean, Dwayne Brown just got signed up yesterday.
Yeah, now he went up there and I think he's going to start.
Yeah.
So that's different. You're going to come here, you're not going to start at tackle. You're going to be the swing tackle. Of course, you're going to be the the six offensive linemen, and swing tackle is important. And Tyron Smith hadn't played a full season since 2015, so you might get to play. But pull out that list. Eric Fisher in this long list. Ty Nsekhe is a better offensive tackle at 36, the former Cowboy, than Josh Ball is. And the Cowboys might want to hurry up and recognize that before Dak Prescott gets crushed.
How did Dak versus Russ look?
Russell Wilson's really good. And not unlike Dak Prescott, he handles himself in a certain way that just commands your respect. He's not very big when you stand next to him. It's kind of astounding what he's done with his lack of traditional height, but he was really good. And then the idea of Dak and his mobility and all that, that's real. And this was game speed stuff. And he talked afterwards how, since he's not playing Saturday, he treated this week like it was a game, and he treated that practice like it was a game, and you could see it. His numbers were really good. His connection with CeeDee Lamb, really good, and his command of what they're doing, really good. Dak Prescott is not your problem, Cowboy fans.
I want to ask this because, I always wonder, how does Brady practice? How does Rodgers practice? How did Montana practice, Elway Manning? How does Russ practice differently than Dak, if he does at all?
I bet you that they both approach it like everything matters, because in both guys' cases, there's some guys that might be able to kind of slough through a practice. In fact, Tom Brady now is taking a couple weeks off, isn't he?
Yep.
And going and doing whatever he's going to do. By the way, they are saying they're unconcerned about week one, but Cowboys versus Buccaneers is coming. And Tom Brady is somewhere hugging his family or dealing with a personal issue or just taking some time off. I think that's a story. I think Tom Brady's availability for week one might be something that we all monitor. So Tom Brady can go through his process a little different than the others, but Dak Prescott, I think, recognizes that he's got enough holes in his game that he needs to get better at, that he can't slough off a practice, and he certainly didn't do that yesterday.
Mike, did one side clearly get the better of the other?
Well, the Broncos defense beat up the Cowboys offensive line pretty good, but the best player on the field by a mile was Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
And the other day Jerry makes the Mike Tyson comparison about his assertiveness and aggressiveness, and you're kind of going, okay, that seems kind of a stretch, but okay. And then Micah himself talks about how he's motivated to do some of the things that Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron James accomplished. And at first blush, you're going, okay, now come on, kid. That's ridiculous. Yeah. Then you go out and watch him do what he did yesterday. I mean, he was a man among non-men. I mean, he probably had 4 sacks. Russell Wilson got his full of that guy. Micah Parsons was unstoppable and unblockable yesterday. And Chop, I know you've talked about this a lot. There's some concern. You get caught up in yourself a little bit, whether it's the positive or the negative. Do you get caught up in a meme about yourself? Do you start thinking that you're so invincible that you get to spend the all off season not lifting weights and watching film, but just goofing around? Well, Micah Parsons did plenty of goofing around and enjoying his celebrity, and did all the other things. He is an incredible force. And guys, keep this in mind about yesterday. It's not like Dan Quinn unveiled some of the top secret stuff they're going to do with him.
Yeah,
he just lined up a defensive end and rushed the passer, and they couldn't stop him. Wait till Anthony Barr comes off pup, and watch Dan Quinn start moving around these chess pieces.
Mike, where do you stand on Micah just rushing the passer full time instead of moving back and forth at linebacker?
Yeah, I think that would be a misuse of him. First of all, if I'm Dan Quinn, I don't want the other coordinator and the other quarterback knowing where he's going to be. I want the quarterback to come to the line of scrimmage and say, "Oh, he's there. Oh, wait a minute, he's moving over there. Oh, wait a minute, what are we doing? What's that?" That's the idea, and I think that puts him at his best. I bet you on it's 3rd and 7, and it's time to win the game, and it's one play to win the game. Maybe we won't do much trick-em-ick-em. Maybe he'll go line up the defensive end and just fly. But otherwise, I think moving around the chess pieces gives you an unusual advantage.
We heard CeeDee Lamb had a fantastic day. Do you know how much of that damage he did against Patrick Surtain, who was a Cowboys draft target and had a fantastic start to his career? How did CeeDee look?
Yeah, I don't know how specific that was, but and Dak kind of whispered this to us a couple months ago, because I know that, Tony Romo came out and said basically he thinks the Cowboys are going to be a running team. And I'm like, Tony, I don't know who you're talking to or what you're seeing, but you're wrong. But you're wrong. CeeDee Lamb might lead the NFL in targets. In fact, I think it's a pretty good bet. Now, will he lead the NFL? What about catches, touchdowns, and yards? I don't know, but he's going to get 1 trillion targets. This is not going to be a 1992 retro Cowboy offense where the running back gets 22 touchdowns and the wide receiver gets none. CeeDee Lamb's going to get the ball a lot, and did yesterday in good connection with Dak.
Mike Fisher here on the Fan with Shan and RJ. Did they come out of this clean with injuries?
2 guys got beat up a little bit. Ian Bunting, the backup tight end, they brought the medical cart out for him. That was scary. And then he eventually rose to his feet, walked off the field under his own power. He's got a neck. They don't think it's too concerning. And then John Ridgway, the Arkansas defensive tackle, who is a troublemaker in a good way. They think they have something there. He had a lower leg problem, so he limped off for a little bit, but then later looked like he was walking fine. So hopefully nothing serious with those 2 guys.
What is on your checklist for tomorrow night with guys that you're focusing on?
I guess the 2 things, and we can kind of close with this. One is that the mile-high altitude, and there's this has been dealt with for many, many years. Which way do you go? Like Jimmy Johnson used to say, mind controlling the body, not the body controlling the mind. So do you tell yourself, okay, we're a mile high, so do something about it, or do you try to ignore it? Well, Neville Gallimore yesterday said, nobody told me. He goes, I looked at myself after a little while, and he goes, the engine light's out.
Wow.
the engine light's out.
How is that possible, Mike, that he didn't know or that he wasn't told? That's crazy to me.
At the old Nuggets, no, they did this at the old Mile High, too. And at the Nuggets arena, you would walk down the tunnel, and there'd be a sign saying, welcome to the Mile High City. You are, whatever the number is, you are 4,000. I mean, it was reminding you right in your face.
Yeah.
You can't breathe. And they were announcing to you, you can't breathe. So I don't know how we missed that, but we won't miss that on Saturday. We'll be quite aware of it.
Does it affect you, Mike, just walking around like at practice as a reporter and not an athlete? I've never been there.
First of all, I can't believe you're claiming that I'm not an athlete, but that's
you could be you could be in headbutting with that dome. I don't know what else.
Yeah, yeah. When I go for my
Wordle doesn't count.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I don't have a big problem with it. And again, though, I'm not going 1,000,000 miles an hour, but it's 5,280 feet. And so I go out for my walk and I go up a hill and I'm feeling fine. But of course, I'm not trying to push around 300-pound guys.
Right.
Oh, and then the other thing. So I'm talking to Dan Quinn, and as you guys know, because you're professional journalists, you shouldn't ask, will you? You should ask, how will you?
Right.
Because if you ask, will you?
Yes or
then
no.
you can just answer yes or no. Okay. We know that trick, right?
Close-ended questions in journalism school. Keep them open-ended. Young children at UNT.
There you go. That's right. So I'm talking with Dan Quinn in a big one-on-one, and I go, do you have a plan for these young defensive linemen on Saturday night?
Uh-oh.
And he smiles, and he winks. He gives me his fist bump. He says, yeah, and he walks away.
Got you. Got him. Dan Quinn, journalism school right there.